rewatching the movie, I was like, I'm totally a Sally. Like, at home with braids and glasses on, being like, oh, well, have fun. Like, bye.
I don't know. Probably if I had to pick a character I was closest to, it'd probably honestly be Michael.
What?
I just don't feel like I don't think I'm cool enough to be any of the witches in this movie.
You're not even a main character. What? You're a tertiary character that dies. Pick better.
Welcome to the Coven Slumber Party with Ray of 5x5 and Sarah of Calling Corners, where we break down and geek out over the witchy, magical, and mystical media of the 80s, 90s, and more, and try and fill the video store-shaped holes in our hearts. Alright, so today we're talking about the movie, the 1998 comedy drama fantasy.
Question mark.
Practical Magic, directed by Griffin Dunne. Griffin Dunne is a famous actor in his own right, and his what arguably most notable role is as Jack, the ill-fated friend who dies at the hands of a werewolf on the moors while backpacking with his friend David. He becomes the fun, undead character casually haunting David up to his time where he becomes a werewolf.
I love that. Oh man, wouldn't that be amazing if that's how someone described you, being like, this is what she's known for. That'd be so killer. Yeah.
If somebody described me as fun, undead, and casually haunting somebody, I would feel like I made it.
Yeah, win. I just found this out. It's like one of those internet fun facts. I don't know if you saw this, but apparently there was a curse put on the film and the director.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Fucking awesome.
Wasn't it because she, just wanted more money or something? We don't even know who she is, right?
No, it's name's not said, but she was hired as a witch consultant, is what they said. So they paid her, and then they, put her up in a hotel so that she was there. And then apparently out of nowhere, she called the director and wanted a percentage of the film and another $250,000.
Right.
Out of nowhere. The producers were like, no dice. I guess she said that she was going to put a curse on the film and the director. So apparently she left a voicemail for Dunn and threatened a land of curses and then started speaking in tongues. And then apparently she also tried to sue Warner Brothers. They eventually just gave her money to go away. I find all of that hilarious and ridiculous. But it actually did lead Dunn to get an exorcism because he was worried.
Which I guess fair, because I do remember reading somewhere that he said he had no familiarity with witchcraft at all.
Yeah. He was just open to stuff. So he was like, it's really cool to be open to stuff, but in the process of being open, you have to kind of show a little respect. So he was like, I don't know 100% if she cursed me, but if she did, I'm going to just, do a little something to prevent something bad happening. I've been gardening a lot and actually, listening to the audiobook of Practical Magic while gardening. I'm, a changed woman.
You're like Sally Owens, the real
I am.
That's awesome.
Legit, yeah. This has been really cool. Practical Magic times right now, I'm like, yeah, this is who I am and what I do. Cool.
Let's talk about the cast. Do you want to do the cast breakdown? Or wait, before we do that, let's do a summary of what the movie's about. I'll read the IMDb, and then if you have anything to add, please feel free. Because the IMDb, as always, is very short. Okay.
Yeah.
So 2 witch sisters, raised by their eccentric aunts in a small town, face closed-minded prejudice and a curse, which threatens to prevent them from ever finding lasting love.
Yeah, I guess that's the movie. Yeah.
It's such a boring way of explaining such a powerful movie, though.
Yeah. And here's a thing that I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with it, I guess. It's just a thing I notice. Both movie and book, they're always when you think practical magic, you're like, oh, they're full-on witches. But, not really. None of them really do. Yeah, Sally and Jillian don't practice.
50% of the witches involved in the film are totally, not that into it.
Yeah, like they're just like, no thanks.
Yeah,
Rather not.
you're so right.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I guess in the movie, like, Sally is super powerful and can do a bunch of stuff, but all I saw was stirring coffee and, like, making a candle light with her mouth.
Okay,
Like,
I do love, if that's all I could do magically, I think I would still be pretty fulfilled though,
yeah. I'd just
frankly.
be lighting so many candles. Ooh, yeah. Ooh. You see that
Yeah.
one? Ooh.
Ooh, check this out. So in the movie, we have Sally and Gillian Owens, whose parents die. Her father dies tragically, and her mother dies presumably from a broken heart from losing the dad. And so they go and live with their two awesome aunts who are witches, and they grow up there and become witches, get trained in witchcraft, practical magic, if you will. There's a curse put on their family. So the curse that's put on their family. So it doesn't start as a curse in the film. They say that the curse was really some sort of spell that
Yeah.
the ancestor cast on herself because she fell in love and didn't want to feel the pain of falling in love again, and it just got
Yeah.
passed down. So there's a love curse in the family. So any man that falls in love with an Owens woman dies tragically. So Sally doesn't want to fall in love. Gillian wants to fall in love all the time, which is kind of suspect when you know she knows about the curse.
Right? Like, what's this girl about?
Right? After Sally's husband passes away, tragically, her and her daughters go live with the aunts. So then Gillian is away and they haven't seen each other for a long time. And then Gillian returns after potentially... Oh no, see, I'm already confusing both of them.
Because, like, it's so weird in the. Okay, first of all, I have to say, Michael's death is hilarious because, like, no, legit, like, literally 24 hours later, kids are playing softball where that dude died.
Yeah.
But he's just strolling down that little street and everyone's like, oh, Michael, watch out. And there's just a bunch of bikers, fancy Tour de France bikers. And he's like, eeps, ops, eeps, ops. Like,
you'd think they would have blocked the street off for that, you know?
or told anyone in the town to look out for a horde of spandex bikers, but no. So he's like, after they all leave, he's like, phew, and within seconds gets smushed. So this truck has just been like tailgating this group of bikers. Like, if one goes down, he's gonna kill like eight bikers just because he's driving so goddamn close to them. Like, what is that scene?
That is so funny and hilariously true.
Like, when I was rewatching it, I was like, no, this is stupid. And in the book, he gets hit by drunk drivers, like a bunch of teens get lit and hit him.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, like, I feel is more believable, but the movie definitely didn't go into that tonal shift of, like, heavy shit, you know?
No.
They kept it pretty.
The movie kept things very light. Gillian and Sally, who have not seen each other in many years. Gillian is in a domestically violent situation, I guess we'll say, and calls Sally to help get her out of it. And in the process of getting her out of it, they kill the boyfriend. Jimmy, right? Jimmy's his name?
Jimmy Angel Love.
Oh,
Angel
yeah,
Love.
Jimmy Angelov, yeah. So they kill the abusive boyfriend of Gillian by poisoning him with...
Belladonna, I think.
Belladonna, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
And so, in order to not get in trouble for that, they bring him back to life. With
As you
magic.
do.
As
you do.
As you do. And he instantly starts to try and kill Gillian again. So they immediately, after bringing him back to life, murder him a second time.
Funny! I get the comedy now. Oh, I get the comedy label.
Oh my gosh. So then they've double murdered this dude. They bury him under a rose tree or something.
Yeah, in the garden, and then, just roses are a bloomin'.
Roses start blooming, shit starts going awry, and it's very clear that he's beginning to haunt them.
Yeah.
In the interim, we have Sally opening her botanical shop in the town. We have her children, her two daughters, who are struggling with the judgment of the town that their mother went through as a kid as well. And we have Jillian just kind of hanging around because she's got nothing else on the go, and they just murdered the boyfriend.
Jillian is like the worst sister.
I know.
The worst.
She totally is the worst.
I know that Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman did have chemistry. I thought they played really well together as
Same.
sisters and whatever, but like, Jillian sucks, man. Just like jumping out of their house when she's like, what, like 19? No, like younger or something, to go get married. And she's like, no, we're gonna die on the same day and be old. And they do the like sister blood pact, whatever that thing was.
Which, side note, didn't that remind you of Ginger Snaps?
Totally.
Like the sister pact, yeah.
Totally.
Loved
But
it.
then she just like f***s off for like 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
She really didn't care.
Did not meet I don't think she met her nieces, and they were like 7.
And in the movie, they're like so
"Oh."
pumped to see her, and it's just like, I don't think that would be the response, but okay.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know. I like the characters. Like, they're fun, they're cool, they definitely have their pros and cons. Like, they work together. It makes for a great story, but Jillian is a turd. I would not be down to help her quite as much, I don't think.
No.
Without giving her a harder time. To be like, you show up with a dead body, or like, I have to like deal with this dead jerk, and like,
Yeah.
you haven't even met my kids? Yeah, I'd be pissed.
You incriminate me in a crime. Is that the right word?
Yeah, I guess. Because I think actually she kills him. Sally kills him.
Sally kills him, yeah. You force me into a situation where I have to murder somebody
2 times.
twice. Hide the body, deal with my judgmental town, open a shop, still look after my grief from my husband dying. I don't know, like that.
Yeah.
What else?
Raise 2 kids.
Raise 2 kids.
Yeah.
Not be on the phone tree list. Which we'll get to.
I love it, yeah.
And then have to deal with the officer, the investigating detective, who comes to look for the missing person, which is buried in your backyard under a tree.
Yeah, like, kind of crappy sister, you know?
Yet it's somehow a romantic comedy / drama fantasy.
So well labeled. Oh, yeah.
I know we're talking like it's awful, but I f***ing love this movie so hard. So.
It's so good. It is so good.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, it's outrageous.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're allowed to love its outrageousness, and it actually makes me love it even more.
Same.
I think.
Same. See, I'm trying to differentiate the book and the movie in my head now.
Right. It's
Okay.
like, it's pretty similar, but like, there's a lot of detours in the book,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Also, I don't actually remember there was no like true love curse in the book.
No.
Like, that was not a thing.
No. They did fall in love in the book, the officer and Sally, but like,
Mm-hmm.
to me it read so much like, I don't know, it was a little bit too not technical. Formulaic? I don't know.
Yeah. It was kind of weird too, because like, as far as I could tell in the book, like, Sally did love her first husband. I think his name still was Michael. Like, I think they did love each other.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, she's like, maybe I've never been in love, and like, what is love? It's like, dude, you married this dude, and you like seem to be really into him and have kids, and you were having a time, and then
Yeah.
what?
I love that you brought that up, because I thought, both book and movie, Michael got a shitty end of a stick.
Oh man, did he ever?
Like, Michael took on the role that usually, like, Stephen King gives to dogs, where it's like, this is how serious shit's gonna be.
I really like that.
I felt bad for him.
Michael. Oh, Michael.
Consider myself a punk rocker at heart, but when that what's her name, Faith Hill's song, This Kiss, starts playing,
Oh my god.
Tears.
Right? I even made a note of it somewhere, like, when it
Tingles.
happened. Because I was like, I know this song. And then I was like, who is this? Who is this? It's like, oh, there it is, Faith Hill. F***ing love music. isn't that the famous country singer, babe? And then it's like, Faith Hill! That's what I remembered. I was like, oh, it's Faith Hill!
Oh, so good. It just goes right into
Yeah.
your soul.
And then when she's running for whatever reason, like while that music's playing and she's running to go make out with Michael, there's just like a shit ton of dogs following her.
Yeah. I didn't know why either. But anyway, magic, yeah.
Because magic.
But here's something interesting. So we come to find out that so it's this beautiful scene. She's in the garden. The aunts are there, and they're clearly waiting for something. The church bells, I'm guessing, ring. Something rings in the town.
Yeah.
She gets up from gardening, races straight to the grocery store to make out with Michael, who is, at that point, I don't even think her boyfriend.
I don't think they've ever talked to each other. There's like a scene where they look at each other going to the market, and then the aunties are like, yeah, you're going to have babies with him.
Yeah.
And then the end. Like,
yeah. So I didn't catch on the first time, and I watched this movie for the first time, I'm going to say in my teens or very early 20s. It was much later than The Craft, I would say, in my life chronology. I didn't realize that the aunts put a spell on her to fall in love with him.
I did not either, even though they later say it. They're like, we didn't know that you were going to love, I don't know, whatever they admit. Totally missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think at that point, you're like, when I was younger watching it, I was more obsessed with the fact that she was like, bring him back from the dead and with your big spooky book.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
Totally. But also, is that them trying to make us, like, is that them trying to convince the audience to be like, don't worry about Michael. He didn't really count. He was just a spell. Like, don't worry about him. Like, I feel like,
I don't know.
Poor friggin' Michael, man. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He's a dog from Stephen King. I really like that. The book has more answers and like leads you down like a more logical path, wherein like they very much made this a Hollywood movie. Like
they did.
Yeah, they made her different.
Yeah, they made it a very Hollywood movie. And going back to the book again, I felt like the detective. So what's the Gary Officer Gary Hallett? Yeah. So the love interest for Sally. So he's investigating the murder of the dead boyfriend of Jillian.
In the book?
Or no, sorry, in both. He's looking for
he's
him.
Like he's missing, so they're like trying to find him. Yeah.
Yeah. So in both of them, the detective's like, I guess I love this woman. I better mess with the evidence in this investigation and everything is fine.
Sure. You know, like it's just he gets a letter. They do it in both the book and the movie. He like gets a letter that apparently sounds really shitty, where she just yells at Jillian about being a piece of shit. He reads it and falls in love with her and is like, this woman's what I've been looking for.
Yeah.
And then that's it. He's like, all right, I'm going to do the opposite of what I've been doing my entire life. For stranger?
See, and this is where I liked this isn't the only reason, but this is one of the main reasons I like the movie over the book, is because to me it seems very jarring in the book and you can't relate to his feelings. I think it's with Sandra Bullock. I don't remember the actor who played Gary Hallett in the movie, but the chemistry was so good that like it was evident that they were falling for each other, so it was easier to digest the information. Whereas in the book, you didn't have that chemistry. They were just like, this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. You know, like I felt it seemed drier. So I mean, I was more willing to be spoon-fed that from the movie.
Well, it's like in the book, Gary's just like a big old feeling crybaby. Legitimately just like cries every time he drinks coffee because it reminds him of his grandfather, and he's like, happens all the time. It's just he's just a big heart, and that's I think all you're supposed to take from him. He's just a big heart that's just like, I guess so. That's what I got from him. He's
You're so right.
I just emote.
And he's just like chill.
All right.
First of all, I don't think anyone will be that chill with it. Like, how are you a detective? Like, how you cry at every crime scene probably.
Right?
Like, no one's going to take you seriously.
You cry having your daily cup of coffee. Like, that's crazy. And it says multiple times in the book, he's on his third cup. And it's like, so you just weeping the entire time? Like, what is your life, man? Yeah. It's like I loved him because he did seem like a Muppet in the book, where he just was like, I don't even know. Like, I liked him, but I think he was more of a flesh out sort of like believable character in the movie. I think.
For sure.
Yeah.
Which is funny because usually the opposite is true.
Mm-hmm.
Officer Gary Hallett had a bigger role in the movie with the elements of Sally inventing him that was not in the book, but made his character so much better. So like the elements of her inventing him in the movie was so beautiful. Like it shocks me that's not from the book, but that's all original content for the film.
Yeah.
You know?
And it like that was the stuff like I forget how old I was when I watched it. It was like 98 it came out. I don't know. I probably was 13 or 13 when I watched it. That moment I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so great. Wow." I was like, "What is love?" question mark. Like, oh.
Yeah.
I thought her little spell was the best for some reason. I was like, "I want to do that one day."
Yes.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Amas Veritas, which is also the song that plays at the title of the song that plays the instrumental from the film, from the beginning and end.
Cool.
Yeah, it's the same name. Yeah, I love that too. Flipping pancakes, one blue eye, one green eye, like all that characteristics.
Favorite shape is a star, which is his badge. Like,
that
cute.
was good. So good. That was some good writing.
Yeah. They had fun.
They did. He was cardboard to me in the book.
Mm-hmm.
In the movie, he was much more fun and whimsical. Mm-hmm. However, there was something that I thought was very ill-conceived, I guess.
Okay.
In terms of him. So, there's a part where he's talking to Sally in the movie, and you'll know what I'm talking about. He's talking to her, and they kind of almost have like a bit of a fight, and he says, "Curses only have power if you believe in them, and I don't." And it's totally this moment where we're supposed to swoon and be like, "Oh, he doesn't believe in curses for her." And I'm just like, the last scene, a literal ghost came out of somebody, put his hand into your body to kill you.
Yeah.
Rethink your stance on curses, my dude.
Yeah, but he's like, that's just like a one-time thing. That's whatever. It's not that weird. I've seen worse. Like, oh, what a weirdo. That's a super valid point, though.
Like, you don't believe in curses. Okay.
You did just see a specter. I do have to say, Sandra Bullock as Sally Owens, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. I hear that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And, like, I think that she was pretty much starting to, like, get into her groove, because this was after Speed, but she did Speed 2, so I think she probably was like, maybe I need to do some other stuff other than, like, blockbuster action movies. You know what I mean? So I think this, like, probably started her super 90s rom-com vibes. You know, like, While You Were Sleeping, and what else? I feel like she did something else close to this, too, timeline-wise. But I think, like, her career was really, really starting to be something.
Which is
at
cool.
This time.
Yeah, because, I think you're right. And I think, because I did the math on her age, because I was just like, how old are they supposed to be? And I was just curious how old they were trying to make the sisters. So I looked at her age in the film. Like, I did, I mathed out that. And I think she was like 31 or something. Mm-hmm. She's like, man, you just blossomed into this flower of a woman. And I love it. She was like, she's perfect. You know what I mean? Because you see so many of these movies with like super young people, and I think that they cast it perfectly. The age was perfect, the women were perfect. Like,
I have to say my favorite casting and favorite like actress, favorite part of this movie is Stockard Channing.
Rizzo.
She doesn't have a lot of lines. She's not like but I love her. She's just like,
she's got it.
Yeah, she is still Rizzo, I feel like, but a witch, just like whatever.
Yeah. I don't know if it made the final podcast, but we were talking about how Nancy from The Craft, what's Feruza?
Oh, Feruza, yeah.
And you were talking about how she like has this whole like she acts so much with her eyes and stuff. I find Stockard Channing the same way. Like you like she can give like this look that's just like so good, Yes.
Yeah. And I have to be honest, like I've loved her for so long. I would watch Grease just to get to the part where she had her like little solo song.
Aww.
Oh, she's so golden, and she's been in so many great things.
I know.
She's like my favorite part of this movie.
It's amazing. That was cast perfectly. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I was so stoked stoked that she had that role, and she was so good in it. Like, it's so magical. I think that's what it is you can really see, like, this magical spirit in her looks and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
the glances. And same with the other aunt, though, too. I did find, like, her whimsical quality. Stockard Channing was Aunt Frances, and then Aunt Jet was the other one.
Yeah, and so is it Diane Weist?
Diane Weist?
I can never pronounce it right.
No.
Weist? I don't know.
Yeah.
But she's so precious, the cutest cheeks, the sweetest voice.
Yeah.
So lovely.
Yeah.
So lovely.
She's always like, do you want to get some chocolate cake? And it's like,
yeah.
I always want chocolate cake from you. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. And, like, also Nicole Kidman, super well cast. I don't know. It's debatable, I guess, but I don't think she was quite as big as Sandra Bullock was at the time. But, like, these are two super heavy hitters. It's really cool that they decided to do it.
I agree.
What a rare moment, you know?
Yeah, I couldn't see... Oh, well, of course, it's so easy to say, but I really don't know what it would have been like to have another actor play Jillian.
Yeah.
She did such a good job. And that was a pretty intensive role because, unlike the book, there was so much extra with her character, like with her boyfriend possessing her and her exorcism and all that. Like, not in the book, and very heavy acting, so...
Yeah, it's like her... I know, like, the book is the whole, like, I don't even want to say the last 2/3 of the book is about Jillian kind of, like, bringing this crap to Sally's door and dealing with it. Jillian is the reason for most of the things happening in the movie. Whereas in the book, like, other stuff happened, people were doing stuff. In the book also, like, the daughters have way more, they're fleshed out way more, they're, like, way bigger.
Yeah. And you know what? I honestly think that's why I didn't like the book so much. I wasn't into the daughter part at all. I found it boring. I found them snotty and bratty.
Oh, but legit, I found all of them like that. Like, Sally had her moments and Jillian had their moments. So, like, as I was listening, I was like, you all kind of suck, man. I dig you. You're just, like, moody drama.
That's fair.
But I was into it.
And the aunts didn't play as much of a key role in the book either, if I recall.
No, they didn't. They are around just in the beginning to kind of, like, basically set up Sally and Jillian's life. It is kind of nice to see the shift. You get the perspective of the aunts when they're younger, how they kind of are cold and crappy and bleh, whatever. And then in the last bit, they come to help basically get rid of Jimmy's spirit. They show up, Jillian and Sally, looking at them as, like, mature women looking at their aunt. They're like, oh man, you are not as cold and crappy as I thought you were. You're, like, really sweet and you're really nice.
Yeah.
You've done so much for me. It's like, it was nice to see that because, like, that is definitely not something in the movie. Like, the aunties are just the best and the coolest and, like, that's just how it is.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a different perspective. Like, it's almost like that shift in perspective you get, like, with your parents or whatever, kind of. Like, when you're like, you suck, you won't let me do anything. And then you grow up and you're like, oh, because I would have done stupid shit all the time, that's why.
Yeah, I would have made all the bad choices.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in the book, I have to say, I do think I love Aunt Frances the most in the book. Because she gives no f***s. Like, at all. That's awesome.
Much in the book.
She is just a old witchy lady wearing all black and just being like, no. Like, it's great. Yeah, she gives no apologies. And, like, there is one thing that's really cool in the book that they don't really talk about in the movie, because they don't like to go, it's not a downer movie, even though there is a double murder.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like a downer.
Yeah.
But, like, in the book, there's so many bummer points. Like, when you find out that Aunt Jet and Aunt Frances, like, they also, because all the Owens women are, like, mega hubba-hubbas. Yeah. They were, like, gorgeous, and they were in love with these two guys that got struck by lightning and died.
Right, that did happen in the book.
Yeah.
Or it's like a flashback to it or something.
Yeah, and so, like, they just decided they're never gonna get heartbroken again, and they just live together, and they're like, this is what it is. We're gonna eat crackers and, like, gruel and whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like, it makes the, like, cartoonish witch vibe that they have, like, way more understandable, because you're like, oh, yeah, you've been annihilated and you decided to just shut off. Got it.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, because I do remember that, because there's this really sad line where it's like they think about those guys from time to time. And you get the idea that they were quite young. Like, I'm going to say, like, preteen or something.
I feel like they were really young.
Yeah. And it's just like, ugh.
That's one thing about the book that I kind of enjoyed. Like, it'll give you something, like a piece of information, like the fact that the aunts always hated lightning storms, and it was like a thing. But and then later in the book, you find out like, oh, it's because their loves got struck by lightning. Got it. It gives you enough information so that you think you can make up your mind, and then you find out more, and you're like, oh, it was totally dead wrong. Oh, got it.
Yeah, hearing you talk about the book actually gives me a little bit more, makes me a little bit more excited for it, because there's also, in the film, the film opens up with Maria Owens, who's like the ancestor, played by Caprice Benedetti, I think.
Babe.
Yeah, total babe.
Babe.
Total babe. And she's about to be hung, and she jumps off and doesn't get hung and gets, I guess, exiled somewhere.
Yeah, they just put her on an island, super pregnant. They're like, well, if you can't die,
just go here.
Here you go.
Yeah. They kind of have like a voiceover of them talking about like, oh, she was waiting for her love. He never came. She cast a spell on herself, so she didn't fall in love again.
Mm-hmm.
And in the book, I did find that they gave her story a lot more structure, and you could feel a lot more of the pain from that, and it made a lot more sense. It didn't. Yeah. There was no curse, but like that whole beginning element of the Owens like journey, I thought was a lot richer. Was a lot richer in the book.
Yeah.
Because there's the whole thing of like the wife of her lover finding out, people would glimpse her running into the night to go find him, and it was just there was a lot more there.
I did like that. So I also have to say, like, one of like, because like there's not like a ton of magic in this movie, which is funny because magic is one of the two words that make up the title of said movie. There's not a lot there's not a lot of magic in it if you like really boil it down. One of like the cool parts it stuck with me growing up was the woman that shows up at the house, and like she puts a pin through the heart of a dove. The girls are like, ooh. Like that moment in the book, holy crap, it's awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot more that goes into that in the book.
Holy shit, I was so riveted. I was like, what is even happening right now? And then it's just like how, and I don't even think the aunts warn this woman. They're not like, are you, well, maybe I think they're like, are you sure you want to?
It's like King of the Hill. I asked him twice.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I feel like they were just like, whatever, give me your money and I'll make it happen.
Yeah.
They were just like, whatever. But like, yeah, her life was ruined.
Yeah.
I don't know. It felt more real to me.
It totally felt more real. And you know what's interesting is that they didn't elaborate on that in the film, because that would explain a lot more of Sally's aversion to love.
Exactly.
Because so in the film we have, of course, the scene with the woman who comes to the Owens house to get a spell cast, so somebody falls in love with her.
Yeah.
She has to put a pin through the heart of a dove, and that seems to be the reason that Sally is not digging the whole concept of love. Where in the book, that spell does work, and that guy does fall in love with her, and it is a shit show.
Yeah. And then they eventually, I'm pretty sure, don't they like take her voice away so she can't even tell him to go away and leave her alone?
I can't really remember what happens, but like,
there's something like, oh, that's what it was. She came and like tried to get the aunts to reverse it or whatever, and she was talking to the Sally and Jillian in the garden, and she was like yelling at him and stuff, being like, go get them, and they're like, oh, they're not here, and she like freaks out, and I think she like slaps Jill, or she hits one of the kids, and then the aunts see it and they just kind of like twinkle that nose, and like then she lost her voice, and they were like, well, there you go, you can't even tell them to leave you alone, screw you.
And then the girls go back later to find out, the sisters when they're older go back to find out what became of that woman, and I was a little cloudy on that. So she moved away, and it was, I don't know.
Her husband died, and then she opened a cafe in Florida, and they were like, they laughed and ran away, and I was like, okay. So I didn't get it. I didn't get it.
No, I didn't get it either.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, that's kind of what I was asking, so it didn't make sense to you either.
No.
That was, okay.
No.
Yeah, no, the book did flesh out a lot of important things. My biggest issue with the book, honestly, was the kids. Like, I just didn't want it to... I felt like it was a poor choice to make the story about them. Our main, like, heroine or protagonist is, like, the kid. And I'm just like...
Yeah. There
But
was
I
a
kind of,
lot. Yeah, there
yeah.
was a lot. I kind of liked the idea of like the three generations. So like
Yes.
I don't know. Overall, like I feel like they're both really rad. I love the book and I love the movie.
You got a lot of good stuff out of the book. Where meanwhile, when
Mm.
I was listening to it, I was just like, oh, it's so dry.
There was a lot of cool parts that like weren't in the movie that I thought like yeah, it was fun. It was interesting. I enjoyed it. It just hit a certain part in my brain because that's one huge difference between the book and the movie is that like the movie seems to take place in a question mark sort of season. Like it's I guess maybe summer, but maybe
Ah,
not.
yes.
Like
Let's talk
it's
about the
weird.
season.
Yeah, but like in the book, it is straight up super gross, super hot, super ridiculous summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, they make it very clear.
Yeah, so it is a summer movie. I think people get confused because the movie ends with that roof scene in
Yeah,
Halloween, Samhain.
yeah.
So and I've saw a lot online. They're like, "What? This is a I saw a lot of people be like, "This is a Halloween movie for me," or "This is a Samhain movie for me." It's very clearly like a warm, balmy
Hmm.
time. But in
Yeah,
the movie, when I rewatched, when Sally races out to go save Jillian,
yeah.
the sisters, the aunts are like, "Well, what about the solstice?"
Uh-huh.
And so it's summer solstice, clearly summer solstice, because the only other
Yeah,
solstice we have is the winter solstice, and it is clearly not winter in the
yeah.
film. So this is happening in June in the movie,
Yeah.
because they talk about it being the solstice. And it was funny because I actually, my rewatch actually took place on the summer solstice, so I was just like,
Oh, cool.
whoa.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
And they also like there's a mention too because like they bury him in the yard and then roses are like everywhere and everyone and Gary's like it's a little early for roses or whatever.
Right.
It's because it is. And in the book it's lilacs,
In the book, it is
not
lilac.
roses, and
Yeah.
I f***ing love that so much more than roses. For some reason I feel like the rose choice was just like just because of the context of like a witchy movie that was like do a rose and people will understand, but for some reason the lilacs in the book like it made so much more sense to me for whatever reason.
Well, they did the book did do a really good job of poisoning what
Mhm.
we would consider to be like, a beautiful flower with like a lovely scent. And you
Mhm.
really get the haunted like toxicity of that, like, and how
Mhm.
it relates to the well, for people that might not have watched the movie, so essentially the double dead, extra dead boyfriend buried in the yard, he seems to be controlling the flowers and kind of like communicating
Mhm.
his presence by like the scent and growth of the flowers. So in the movie, that's roses that grow, and in the book, that was lilacs. I can't remember, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah,
And then he starts to like as everything goes on, like as time goes on, like he starts to pushing it. There's in the book it shows up, but in the movie, like there's frogs. That was the thing.
the
Frogs start
frogs.
appearing too, and it's like swampy, weird patch with roses, huge, crazy roses and frogs. And then one of the frogs throws up Jimmy's ring. That's like
Yes.
in the book, it's made very clear that it's like a one of a kind. That's how you identify Jimmy
Yeah.
ring. But in the movie, it's just like another accessory to make him look like an asshole. That
Yeah.
happens, and then his boots poke up, and like there's a bunch of stuff where he just basically is filled with so much hate and anger towards the girls that he's just gonna basically
Yeah.
super haunt.
Yeah.
I think one of the girls actually, like one of Sally's girls, can see him. When she looks outside the window in the movie, she can like see Jimmy like smoking or something. And
Yes.
she's like, "Who's that guy?" It's like, "I'm not going out there if he's out there or whatever."
Yes.
And they're like, "Ah, crap."
Another interesting difference between the book and the movie was ultimately in the book, it was found that it wasn't the belladonna that killed
Mhm.
the boyfriend. It
Yeah.
wasn't high enough of a dosage. So he just
Yeah.
died from presumably his own drugs.
Yeah. And then they freaked out and buried him in the yard.
Yeah.
Whoopsie.
Yeah. Where in the movie they were responsible for his death.
Twice.
Twice. So I don't think you can really talk about this movie and not mention the production design. I mean, I think about like the house and the kitchen.
Oh, I just wrote, I want a solarium. I would love to live in this house.
And also the grimoire, the spell book, really stuck out to me.
Yeah.
It's just so good. I mean, like they have something similar in say like Charmed, but it doesn't have like the spirit that I feel like this one did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just there's something about holding a massive book like that just feels magical in general. And
Mm-hmm.
then to have all those beautiful pictures and like all these pieces, and we get really good shots of it throughout the years. Like,
Yeah.
the kids are reading it when they're young, and then they're looking at it when they're older to get the spell to like make the guy come back from the dead. Like,
Yeah. Just
it's
casually, just
beautiful.
part of the book. It's like,
Yeah.
bring a douchebag back.
Chapter 5, bring a douchebag
Yeah.
back to life. Yeah, so the production designer, she was responsible for, of course, the grimoire and also all those awesome locations or like main set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
The production designer's name was Robin Standifer, and Griffin Dunn had worked with her the year previous in Addicted to Love.
Oh, right.
He said in a 2017 interview in Vulture, her designs for the witch house and the spell book and all of that, I have them framed in my house. They're works of art themselves, which, yeah.
Totally.
Right?
Okay, so I found something out earlier today and I like kind of lost it. Apparently Barbara Streisand tried to buy the Owens house.
I think
Like,
yes.
she watched the movie and then like tried to buy the house, but it didn't exist. It was not a real house, which I
you'd
love.
think she would know, being in like show business, but okay.
Yeah, but I feel like she just watched it one night and then like picked up the phone of like some dude and was like, "Give me that house.
I know.
Call this person who knows this person that worked with this person. Give me that house." Because it's Barbara Streisand. She can.
Yeah.
The house was not a real house, though.
Yeah.
Like, they just built a shell of it on this, like, piece of land. Because they found the land, and it was, like, perfect because Maria Owens was put on an island, and there you go. So they found, like, the perfect coastline, whatever. But they couldn't dig in because it was said to be rich in native history, so they couldn't actually dig or do anything, so they just like legit like popped a little shell on and did like all of the external shots and did internal shots in like a studio somewhere.
It's
And
so
then
less magical when you think about that being like a
I
sound
know.
stage.
And I like even read somewhere like where all of like the flowers and everything was all fake because they couldn't plant anything. So all of the petals on the flowers and the leaves were like fake. It's crazy.
I know.
But yeah, and then they just tore it down as soon as they were done.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
I know.
But like that to me is one of like the witchy houses, you know, like that's actually one of the reasons why I have like the aesthetic that I do today when it comes to like homes and stuff. Like, yeah, it's very weird. It was not even real.
I know, and it just speaks to the talent that she had, like, as a production designer, because, like, that is probably one of the most spirited places I've seen on camera, and it wasn't even a true house.
Yeah, but she like made it seem so lived in, and it was like a character in itself. But it's like, nope, it's not even.
Yeah, because I remember in the book, I feel like she really devoured that book and really
Yeah.
the book is probably like so beat up.
Well, because they talk about that a lot in the book because Maria Owens designs the house herself, even though she had money, I guess. Got like very specific expensive woods to do very Winchester vibes where it's just like I want the most expensive oak to be in the corner in a circle for no reason, you know, like I like it.
Yeah, it really came to life. Yeah. And it was in the book too, it was a very prominent thing. It's just the difference I guess really was in the book the house belonged to Sally Owens. Like they were never at the aunt's house, really. I don't believe.
There was just like at the beginning when they were younger, they were there, and then most of it's in New York, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, somewhere.
Like, yeah, she moves to the city, and that's it.
I like that they made it the aunt's house for like the main portion of the film because I feel like they just brought so much life and character to it. The house and the aunts together. So what do our dudes say about this movie?
Oh, let's see. All right, so Siskel and Ebert, where are you guys? Oh, I actually wrote down like they have a little bit of a back and forth apparently. So Siskel says it succeeds through a smart script, this story works because it takes witchery seriously, which means that the town residents truly hate the Owens sisters. This is an extremely well-cast movie with Stockard Channing and Diane Wiest, question mark, as the aunts who brought up the girls after their parents died. Now, I mentioned that the script takes witchcraft seriously. Well, it does, because we always talk about how we want to have a how-to film, is what he's saying. When you cover a subject, you get specific, you learn more potions, there's some new rules, and it is all treated seriously by the cast, so we buy into it too. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed practical magic.
Ebert's taking notes, writing his own shadows in the meantime.
Yeah. Ebert said, Gene, I don't believe we saw the same movie.
Oh, so Siskel. Siskel got super into witchcraft after this.
Yeah, right after that I was just like, oh god, you guys are the worst together, but I'm living for this debate. This movie doesn't take witchcraft seriously. It's like a sitcom, and it's childish in all of its plotting, its characters, and its development. And it's like, to a degree, I kind of can understand what he's saying. Like, there are a lot of weird holes missing in the movie, but anyway.
Yeah.
And incidentally, this movie is a comedy, you know? You haven't even suggested that. It's not a serious movie about witchcraft. They fight back and forth for a bit. And then Ebert continues, it's a comedy from beginning to end. I found this movie to be really pretty dumb, as a matter of fact. As for the two older aunts, I wanted to see more of them. As for the persecution of the poor family, hey, you know, if you've been witches for 300 years and the townspeople know that, why stay there so your kids can be persecuted? And then Siskel...
Yeah, but have you seen their house?
I know, right? And then Siskel just said, well, that's the story, Roger. And then Siskel just defends it a bit, and then it's like, oh, come on. They have an old book with a lot of stuff in it, and they mix up stuff. I don't think there is really a lot of information in this movie about witchcraft. And that was it. That was the end. There's no thumbs up, no thumbs down, no nothing. They're just like, ah!
I do want to, I guess I'll touch on this now, because just based on Siskel and Ebert in the witchcraft how-to, or like the real stuff.
Yeah.
I did have some notes on this, because I thought it was kind of interesting. So, for me, like, when I did look into, like, the real, like, when I thought about the real witch stuff, I guess I'll say, for this movie, I didn't get the same, like, vibe as I did with The Craft. Like, The Craft is very much more of the religion-based, Wicca-based connections, and I found, like, this is actually where it's more true to its name with practical magic, because the two things that I found that were very, on par with, like, real magic and witchcraft and stuff was two things I said. So kitchen witchery and omens. So I found that they did a really good job of treating those things in a very realistic way. So kitchen witchery is like a very kitchen-based cooking, garden, use your own spices, mix it up for magic type thing.
Yeah.
Very hearth and home vibe. It's digging in the garden, drying herbs, baking, cauldrons, spices, stuff like that. Making tinctures, like what you do when you... Sally Owens, in a nutshell, right?
Basically what I want to be when I grow up. Yeah.
So kitchen witchery was a huge, huge vibe for this movie, and I think that they portrayed that very accurately. And you can even see that in the setting. The kitchen plays a hugely important role in this movie. It's a very focal point. So the kitchen alone. It's almost like the library in Buffy, where it's almost like its own character.
Yeah, totally.
And then they have that massive kitchen table, because of course they put that body on it when they're resurrecting the boyfriend. And they also have a massive one in Sally's greenhouse. And I think that it's very clear that those could be like altar spaces. Like, to me, the equating them with altars is very a real thing. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they're very altar-esque. The kitchen's a sacred space. It's a holy place. For kitchen witchery, but also in this film specifically. And it's the heart of the home. And it is really the heart of the movie, because it's also the scene where they do, like, the famous scene, which is, like, the Midnight Margaritas takes place in the kitchen as well.
Yeah. Actually, you're saying this. A lot of it does when they're talking with Gary at the beginning, like, when he first shows up and is questioning them, it's in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot that happens in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I actually, like, do you even see anything other than the kitchen and the attic and the greenhouse? Like...
No.
There's not a lot else to the house. It's
I mean,
weird.
when you're in Sally's room, you really just see her under the covers. It's not really like
Yeah.
you get any sort of context for the space.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. I love that you pointed that out. I never really noticed that.
Yeah, it's
That's
huge.
rad.
Yeah, so kitchen witchery is like huge and a very real aspect that I thought they did really well. And then the other thing was omens. So like I wrote here, in paganism, omens are a symbolic method of communicating with source or deity or whatever. I say or whatever, but like, or however you perceive that, I should say, more respectfully. It's simple things that hold significant meaning. So for me in the film watching this, it was pretty evident, first of all, the Death Watch beetle. So this is one of the first main omens. So it's a real beetle that makes a clicking sound while burrowing into wood or wood furniture, which, let's be real, that house would get destroyed because...
Yeah.
Yeah. But its mating call is a particular sound that, like we hear in the movie. It's very evident, like that sound.
Yeah.
And it gets its name. It's supposedly the sound is foretelling death, and that's not something that was made up for the movie. That's something that's really connected with the Death Watch beetle, and how it gets its name, of course. And that's because it was a sound that was often heard in old homes when somebody was like holding vigil over like the ill or sick, or the dying. So they heard it a lot of times before somebody did pass away, just because of that experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's far out. I really like that. Poor Death Watch beetle, though.
Right?
got a bad name. Got a bad rap.
Right? Totally. Totally. And I gotta say, that scene where she's looking for the Death Watch beetle that's like just juxtaposed with Michael's death is pretty hard. Her part of it is heartbreaking. His, as you said, is mildly hilarious, but...
Yeah. Where it's just like, zoom, zoom, oh, my apples. And then it's just, you see apples everywhere, and you're like, I guess that's sad. But, no, for sure, like, Sally's side of it, like, my heart breaks. But then when it goes to Michael, I'm like, I guess? Sure. You know? Sure.
Yeah. Oddly toned, but her side of that was heartbreaking, because you get that shot of her, like, and she's got the floorboards just everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, poor girl.
Yeah. And the other thing, again in the same scene, is the dog. So there's a dog following Michael, barking at him before his death, which is in the book as well. Mm-hmm. So dogs have long spiritual associations with death. In the UK, there was a tradition, or superstition, I guess, really, of black dogs, specifically when they persistently followed you, it was a death omen, which is essentially what I guess they were aiming for with the film.
Right, okay. So that kind of makes more sense than when the ding dong from the church, and then she's run into him, and there for some reason is a pack of dogs following her.
It could be more connected with that, yeah.
Yeah. That could be a thing. Because, like, watching it, you're like, why did you choose to make a pack of dogs follow her?
I'm still questioning that. I mean, I get the one with him right before his death, but that, I don't know.
Yeah, but, like, there's got to be a reason for that. Like, you don't go, like, hey, can you bring in 12 dogs today so that they can follow Sandra Bullock down the street? There's a reason for that. I don't know what it is.
Maybe they were trying to drive that point home more. It's still weird, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So also with dog stuff. So in Welsh folklore, the hounds of Annwn, I think, which is the afterlife essentially, can be seen by real dogs. So essentially these hounds that belong to this afterlife can be seen by earth dogs.
Woof.
So they bark. Yeah, right? So they see so they can see them, which is telling of earth dogs and their connection to death. Because dogs, of course, tend to bark at other dogs. And also in the Greek pantheon, we have the goddess Hecate, who is known to have two dogs beside her. You see in a lot of statues and things. Two dogs side by side. Yeah. With her. And among other things, she's the goddess of magic, crossroads, and doorways, which the afterlife. And the sisters... Sorry, go ahead.
I feel like you were probably going to say the exact same thing. They almost say that when they're doing the spell. They almost call on her, but they say Hecate or something.
They say it wrong, but they do call on her. Yeah.
But I feel like when I was watching it, I was like, I think they maybe had the same sort of, if they had this witch consultant, she might have done the same, like, with a consultant that they had on the craft, where they're like, you can do this, but maybe just, like, enunciate it a little different.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah, they could have done that.
I'm gonna give them credit. I'm also still gonna be like, yeah, that herd of dogs was important for some reason. Be like, sure.
Yeah.
I'll just, I'll believe that everything was well intended.
Right. So, but yeah, I did. I found the omen factor used
Mm-hmm.
properly, like in terms of what the omens they chose were, the traditional superstitions behind them and
Cool.
folklore, and the kitchen witch stuff.
Yeah. That's awesome. I legitimately like I feel like this came at like a very specific and very important moment in my life for whatever reason, like doing this, rewatching and listening to the book, everything like I've completely changed how I'm going to be making and producing stuff now. I'm going to totally be a kitchen witch. Like, I have my garden going now, and I'm like, I'm gonna just start making my own tinctures and essential oils, and like,
Do everything, yeah.
I don't know. It just like, it seems like that's the obvious direction, and I don't know why I haven't done it before, but like watching this and like listening to the book, and I'm just like, oh yeah, this is who I am now. Okay, cool.
I totally see that. Like, I when I saw your stuff, like I know I sent you that message. When I saw your stuff, like it hit me in the face. It was like
Oh,
it really became the thing. Do you know what I mean? It was just
almost.
so I could see you doing that for sure. Yeah, let's talk about her shop though. The Verbena, the name of her shop in the
Yeah.
film. Um, so some fun stuff that I found on that. Okay, so a verbena is a genus that includes vervain, among other vibrant flowers and stuff. Vervain is heavily connected with magic. It's been connected to the Egyptian goddess Isis and the Druids. It's known for use in ceremony and ritual.
Hmm.
For health and wellness, it's supposed to be good for pain relief. And apparently the name comes from a Celtic word that means to drive away, which in the context of that has to do with like kidney stones and bladder infections, driving that away.
Weird. Okay.
But verbain also is also connected with love, and so I thought
Okay.
that was really interesting when you put those things
Yeah.
together and to drive away love, and you think about the concept of the movie is very much about
Yeah.
driving away love. So I thought that
See,
that was kind of interesting.
they probably thought this out a little bit before they made it. You know what I mean?
I have a feeling that the production designer was very well versed at all of this stuff.
Yeah. I did like in the movie, like the blood on the moon and the tiger's eye, and there was like a couple of little stuff like that, like a circle around the moon. Like something's coming, like
Yeah.
weather-wise, something's a brewing. And it's something like that in the movie where it's like there's like two halos around the moon or something. It's like a
Yes. It's like a
yeah.
telling sign of like trouble to come or something they were
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I was like, that's legit how my brain works. When I look up and see stuff, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
bad news. Something wicked.
For the tiger's eye thing, like, leave the tiger's eye.
Right? Like,
Just
what?
get another one. Like,
Why do you need that one specifically?
yeah. It's fine.
I don't know. Also, like, I can't wear tiger's eye. I tried once and it made me feel super weird. So I was like,
Really.
okay, no, not for me. I do love the Midnight Margarita. Seen an awful lot. And apparently they did actually get drunk. Like everyone except like the DP like took shots of tequila and they all got sauced filming
Well, that's awesome because
it. Yeah.
the reality is that scene has such a place in everyone's heart.
But it goes so south so fast. I forgot about that because like rewatching it, I was like, yes, Midnight Margaritas, this is awesome. And they're just like having a good time taking shots, and then all of a sudden they're like, where did this tequila come from? It was on the front door.
Yes.
And then they're like, shit. Jillian breaks the bottle.
Yes, because the tequila was owned by Jimmy, the dead
Yeah.
boyfriend.
Yeah, and then I think the aunts leave immediately after that, where they're like, you have to tell us what's going on, and then they leave. So it's like such
Yeah.
a beautiful, awesome moment, and then it's immediately like screeching tires, get out.
Yeah. It's weird because when I watched the movie, I didn't think it was going in that direction, even though I had seen the movie. I just missed so much of that like, little nuanced stuff, but I thought what was going to happen was that the aunts were kind of like thinking something was going on prior to that. So I thought it was some sort of truth serum type deal. Because they started at the table like saying things. Do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
blurting out stuff that probably would be offensive to the others. Like
Yeah.
and And so that's where I thought it was going, but it didn't. It just turned out it was like a haunted bottle of tequila.
I love it. Just turns out to be haunted booze. Oh, wow.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie is the phone tree. So Sally Owens is big on helping at her kids' school. She wants to help and be part of that world, and the women just will not let her be part of that world. They don't like that she's a witch. They don't like her history. They think she's freaky, even though she's 100% not freaky and super reliable and a pillar of the community, basically.
Yeah.
There's no reason. But they won't let her be part of this phone tree, which is like their... Which in the book I think is opposite, actually. I think
it is
only
opposite.
Relied on her.
Yeah, she's like the one that keeps everything together. She's at the top of it. Like, she probably even was like, we need a phone tree in the book. She's like, we need to get this shit. Yeah, she's like, let's get this shit done.
Right.
And that's the thing that's like, but they have that. It's kind of cool that they took that as like a thing.
Yeah.
Because, like in the book, she's not in the town. She's like in New York or another city or whatever. So like there is no context of like weird, creepy witch aunts or like anything like that. So
yeah,
people just legit rely on her, see her for who she
mom.
is. And like, yeah. But in the town, everyone is like, hiss.
Yeah.
What is it? What do they say? Witch, you're a bitch? Clever. So clever.
As long as it rhymes, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the phone tree in the movie, they don't want her to be part of it, and they don't give her that responsibility. And then we have that really cute scene where Jillian shows up to help her and has sort of worked her own magic to make her Sally the top of the phone tree, so she has to be picked because it's on the chart. And I love that scene. I think that's one of my favorite scenes, right?
It's so good. Also, the zoom in and close-ups on the actual pieces of paper. These are adult women filling this out. It's not just lists on a piece of paper. They put the names in an actual picture of a tree. It's like, what is this? It's very precious, but like, why are you doing this?
Can you imagine them printing that document? I have important documents to photocopy.
It's a phone tree. Get it? Tree. Like, people wouldn't understand. Like,
oh my god.
Whatever. But I did like that scene a lot. Well, that's because Jillian comes back too, and it's a little awkward for me where like she's like, hold on to your husbands, and it's like, woo.
Yes.
It's a little like.
That made me cringe a bit too. Like, I get what they were going for. Is it's like, yes, Jillian's like so wacky and wild, and all the women are put off or whatever, but like I thought that was a kind of a cringe moment.
But it's like, I feel like now that I know like the source material in the book, it makes more sense to me, because Jillian was the most beautiful woman ever. Like, men would propose to her after seeing her for the first time. Everyone would just fall in love with her. She was so gorgeous and beautiful. So it makes sense knowing that, because like Nicole Kidman's a babe, but I wouldn't be like, she's the most beautiful woman that's ever womaned, but like, that's kind of what it is in the book. That's her role.
Yes.
So it makes more sense now, but like, it's still cringy.
Yeah, it is. So
is that a snake tattoo?
Oh yeah, one of them's like, she has a snake tattoo.
Yeah,
just to put like how put off they are by her. Yeah, but I think that scene's really telling of like the dynamic, because we do have like the kids making fun and the parents not caring because they're like, oh yeah, well that's accurate. The kids can make fun of them because they're weird and whatever. But that scene's really like, oh, they're super alienating this woman, and it sucks. But then she activates the phone tree.
Does she ever?
And eventually
I love that. Hold on. Activate the phone tree, I think, is one of the best things. Because I think that's what you say. If there's a phone tree in your life, you're like, activate that phone tree. Yeah. Like, it is something so powerful and intense. Activate. It's a legitimate list of people to call. You call one person, that person calls someone. It's like, but I just love activating a phone tree. Great sentence. I love it. They do. I'm pretty sure that's what you say. Like, if we had a phone tree and I'd be like, I'm activating the phone tree. I think that's just verbiage that we've made real, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, just calling you because of the phone tree. It's like, no, we're activating it. Anyway,
it's so much more powerful, and it's like, It's like proactive, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
it's really like, yeah.
It's like reminds me of War Rooms and Doctor Strangelove, it's like activated. Get Sally here now.
With their important document of, like, the
Yeah,
tree.
literally a drawing of a tree. Yeah, anyway,
gosh.
sorry.
I love that. It's so true.
She does activate said phone tree.
She activates the phone tree.
Yeah.
And the reason she does it is because she's trying to get Jimmy's ghost out of her sister, who has possessed Jillian and is making her very ill, I guess, and trying to kill her from the inside.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember, like, what exactly happens. Sally comes home, I think, after meeting with Gary. She comes in and she goes to give Jillian a hug, and Jillian is possessed at that point. But, like, I can't remember how she becomes possessed.
There's no context for it in the movie.
Sally comes back and, like, gives her a hug or whatever, and she delivers the line that Jimmy says earlier in the film. It's like, I'm really feeling sisters or something like that. And then that's when Sally's like, activate that phone tree where my auntie's at.
Yeah.
Bad news bears.
Yeah. He is inside. He is possessing the heck out of Jillian, and they activate the phone tree. Get all those women from the parent-teacher board or whatever to help.
So many cardigans.
So I have so many, like, I keep saying I have so many feelings. I don't know, I probably have like 2.
Okay.
But here's my thing with that. So it's this empowering scene where the phone tree's activated, this person's calling this person, and they're all getting on board. And they go, they bring their brooms, and they go to the Owens house, and they are ready to exorcise the ghost out of Jillian.
Yeah.
Which, not unlike the scene where the guy doesn't believe in curses, it's like, how did you turn around that fast? You've been judging this woman for so many years, and now you're like, oh, your sister's possessed? I'm on my way.
Yeah, and like this, like, it was very Hollywood. They needed to do that so that one woman show up with a vacuum or like a Swiffer and be like, is this okay?
Yeah, to get that joke in.
And that's what made it a fucking comedy.
They look at the comedy, throw it in.
Like, happy movies rely on stuff like that. The character or the actress that works in Verbena with Sally.
Oh, yeah.
She, for some reason, is on the phone tree.
Yes.
She says something, I was like, Sally's come out.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be this big, beautiful thing that she's like, yeah, I'm a witch.
Yeah.
Wah! And I don't think it would never be like that in reality, but I do like it.
It's
when
beautiful.
It's like given to me.
It's beautiful in the context of the movie. Don't get me wrong. I agree.
Yeah.
But my issue, and I wrote it down, I said I did have some mixed feelings about the scene where the women in town come together for Jillian's exorcism because it happens so fast. Suddenly, after decades of alienating the sisters, they suddenly are all good and supportive. It's beautiful and it feels good, and I get the sentiment of that, but there's also this kind of underlying thing where it's like the message of, if you're willing to be open and vulnerable, you'll find support. And that's a beautiful message, but it's also like, those people gave her no reason that she could trust them with her being vulnerable and open.
Yeah,
so
at
it's
all.
like her responsibility to change their minds. And I just didn't like that.
They tried to play it off, I think, a little bit with a lot of, like, the women being like, I've always wanted to see what it was like inside your house. I think there's, like, a couple of moments where the women are like, my daughter was across town and she was having a nightmare and I could tell.
Yeah.
They're all being like, yeah, we're all. And I think that's even a line. There's a little witch in all of us. I think that's probably the tagline for the movie or something, too.
Aunt Jet says that in the movie, yeah.
As much as I really do love the book, like, I would be a different, sadder person if I did not see this movie. If this movie didn't exist, I'd be bummed,
Yes, I would be too.
Yeah.
Well, I think people that are witchy and people that aren't witchy equally love this movie. There's just something about the women and the dynamics of the sisters that just is so good.
Yeah, well, there's a little witch in all of us.
There's a little witch in all of us. Thank you so much for listening and hanging out with us tonight. We hope you enjoyed it. You can find more from Ray and 5x5 in the description box, and also more about Calling Corners, as well as any links to articles we referenced during our chat. See you at the next slumber party.